everybody, Poop Witch X here, and I am accompanied today by the Poop Coven video editor and our friend Cdiddy. How are you, Cdiddy?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And before we get going, I just want to ask, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
Thank you. Okay, so first of all, let's get out of the way. Yeah, your voice is really good.
So funny story about that.
Yes.
I have popped into. I'm a part of several different servers, and they hang in voice chat quite often.
Mm-hmm.
I have come into voice chat several times. I've said hey, and they are legitimately jump scared by my voice sometimes.
No, not jump scared. I think it's more like, whoa, that's like a nice voice. Because you have one of those voices that sound like a radio voice. Have you ever done voiceover work or anything like that?
Officially, no. Like, I used to. Officially, no. Like, when I say officially, like not legit voice acting, I just like, I used to mess around when I was a child. That's it.
Right. Well, let me tell you something. What I have heard his voice, because we have monthly meetings, but the first time I heard your voice too, I was like, whoa. It's really, really nice. It is a little Bo-esque for anybody who knows Bo, the security guard. That we'll save that for another story, but it's very, are you threatening me? No, your voice is amazing. So you, okay, before we even get into the music that you've made, like that you've created this playlist and you're so immersed in the music, of like, I want to know more about you in general. Like when did you discover you had such an eclectic taste in music? Like, has it always been something that you've been passionate about?
It just kind of came to me really. Like I used to be like when I was younger, I used to be mostly like stuck to a specific genre. But as I got older, I kind of like, I kind of branched out even more. And like as the years went by, I just like I've always been the type of person that I listen to anything that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So it's mostly just that.
Because you even had songs that weren't in English.
Yeah. I've definitely taken a bit of a I don't know the word for it, but I've definitely taken like more interested in that in the recent years, especially mostly because like I also come from like part of my family also comes from like a Panamanian background, so I'm no stranger to Spanish music at all. So,
right. Well, and it was something I was introduced to because, like, obviously, I feel like you had Selena in there, and I've obviously heard around like in my life, but it's not something I listen to often because I don't understand what they're saying because I didn't get taught anything appropriately growing up. So I took Spanish, but like as soon as I left high school, I was like, oh, it's like gone. I didn't practice and it's gone. So it was really nice to listen, and it really was such an amazing array. And so when you first sort of like started listening to music, was there a specific genre that you were really passionate about?
Oh, definitely hip hop, 100%.
Okay, and also I'm not on my phone being rude. I want to pull up your playlist so that I can ask you questions about it because you really had so many different artists. It was so good, and I feel like you cultivated it really for me, which was really, really nice. Like I really felt like every song I was listening to felt like it was, oh, he's thinking about like, would I like this? Would I like how it shifts to this? Like it was so, so, so good. So, okay, so who was your favorite hip hop artist when you first got into music?
Oh gosh, if we're talking about like when like as a child, this is gonna sound really dated, but Will Smith.
Really?
Yeah.
Will Smith. Wait, like Will Smith era of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Will Smith era Fresh Prince plus like Big Willie style, all those albums he did after that, like just
wow.
For some reason.
Oh.
Just like, what happened?
Hold on. Wait. Cdiddy, wait. What happened?
Are you good?
Hold on. I can't see you for some reason. Hold on. Oh,
I see
there you are.
now.
Hold on. I can see you. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, we're back. I'll cut it out. Don't worry. Sorry. I don't know how that happened. I don't know. You froze for a second and then everything happened. But keep going. So I heard Will Smith and then it cut out.
Yeah, no. So like for some reason as a child, I became such a huge fan of Will Smith. Like I don't necessarily know like how I gravitated more towards him. But it was just like you always have like that main celebrity that like becomes your instant favorite, like when you're a child. So Will Smith was always like the main one for me. But
what was it about him that resonated so much with you?
I have no idea, honestly. I think it might have just been his charisma or something.
Right. And he was also like, he still is so charismatic. Like I don't think, is there anybody who doesn't like Will Smith? I mean, like he's such a nice, I feel like he's a very multifaceted artist in the fact that like, we grew up with him on TV shows and he was on like sitcom-y things. He had a rap career. Then he went into more like dark, you know, like with more hardcore roles and stuff. So I love what was your favorite song from Will Smith?
Oh gosh. It's actually, this is funny because, when I look back on it in retrospect, it was actually on the list of, it was actually on many top 10 lists of like worst songs of that era. But, but I was such a huge fan of Will 2K for some reason. Like that was my shit.
Yeah, that was your thing.
That was my shit. I had the whole Millennium album on cassette. Like
I love that. Oh yeah. Welcome to Miami was very good too. Get jiggy with it. Like he had some, and what year was that? Like the 90s, early 90s, right? Mm-hmm. So and also I feel like hip hop back then was different than what it looks like now. Mm-hmm. Would you kind of say that it's changed and evolved through the time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that people I think that people are kind of blinded by nostalgia a bit, where they kind of like look at hip hop from back in the day and it's just like, oh, I miss the good old days. And I'm just like, there's still good stuff now. Well,
actually, I wanted to ask you a question. So like you had like Lil Nas X, and then there was another artist who like I would consider new, like the newer generation of, but you had another one that was very, very good. Obviously like you had Cardi B in there, who I obviously love her. Like I feel like everyone loves her, but like women, she's so like, she just, oh, I want that. I want her energy so bad. But you had like Childish Gambino, like those to me are the newer iteration, but they're all rooted in the same roots. Would you feel like that's true?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Like, cause like everybody like has like similar influences back then. So
yeah. And I feel like I mean, it's weird because when I grew up, like I remember like Tupac and Biggie, and there was the whole like rivalry between the two, but I was so young, I wasn't really listening to their music or anything like that. I think I was like 4.
Yeah.
So like when I got older, I was introduced to them. But like, so what would you say from when we you know, how hip hop sort of was in the 90s, in the 80s, how would you say it's changed from now, in positive ways, negative ways?
I mean, I definitely feel like it's more of an acquired taste to people, because it's tough to say. It's for me, like I think it's definitely like, you know, evolved in a more positive way. I think there are like new sounds now that just like really, you know, stick with the current generation and stuff like that. Because I feel like there are like, I always kind of use this term. There's like this section of like old heads, which I call, that are just like they like absolutely nothing like from like 2005 and up, and they're all just like, oh, back in my day, blah 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 blah.
Like who would be an example of someone like that? Because I have someone in my mind that I've heard like in an interview saying exactly what you're saying. So who are you thinking of?
Well, I wasn't referring to like actual artists that are old heads in particular. Okay. I was just referring to like people in general.
Because I listened to this interview, and I love Snoop Dogg. I think he's a classic. He's amazing, and he's so funny. But he had an interview where he was literally, I'm not kidding, saying exactly what you're saying. He was like, he even was like imitating that, like every rapper sounds like they just go like, and they do like the same beat, and it's all like in this. He was actually making a point about how rap artists have a weird sound now, like they don't sound out their words anymore or something like that.
So the thing about that is like, people like that has gotten like a negative term that's called mumble rap, and people said that, yeah. and people often use that term quite a lot when it's just like, see, I honestly never really liked the term because it's kind of like it's almost kind of insulting to me, like
Right.
Personally, like anytime I hear it, because like most of the time when I think about it, so this is going to be like a bit of an out of pocket example,
Okay.
but so like for any of those who might have heard of it, like there's this one song called Panda by the artist designer, and like, in my opinion, that song's an absolute banger. Like it doesn't matter to me like what he's saying or how it's going. Like it absolutely slaps.
Right.
But you have songs like those, and then say that like someone decides to cover it in a completely different genre. Like you have those people that will take rap songs and cover them in a completely different way. Like they make it sound like rock or acoustic or something like that. And most of the time when you see the comment sections on those covers, you see people be like, "Oh, I actually understand the words this time." Ha ha ha. And like, this is just me. Like I don't want to sound like I'm over exaggerating, but that sounds like
rude. Yeah.
Racially motivated.
Oh, okay. I got you. I understand what you mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I kind of I think music is always up for people's interpretation. Like, you know, you can make covers and stuff, but slighting the original is always, to me, like it wouldn't exist without the original. So you have to send the kudos to the original, and that's the initial, like what the original is what the impact they wanted to make. You actually had a cover on here of Metallica Enter Sandman that I had never heard before, and okay, so I told you when we were talking initially about like music I like. I like rock and any iteration from rock. And like, to me, I might be one of those, you know, like people who are like, Metallica, you're gonna cover Metallica. I liked it, C. I put it into my liked, like in mine. Wait, who was that artist? I took a screenshot of it actually.
Rina Sawayama, and I highly recommend her.
I was flabbergasted. I was like, it was really good. And to me, if you're gonna cover a classic, you send your regards to it. You know, give it the love that it deserves, and then you change it in a way and you make it yours. And I thought it was sensational. And I think that like when people, say that the original, oh, now I can't, I can understand the lyrics, whatever, then you probably didn't like the initial song to begin with, and you're just being a douche about it in general. So who would be like, for me, I always feel like I really like the beat of the rap, that like, as you like, people call it mumble rap, but I think that's it's very beat driven. Is there an artist that you really feel like that beat hits and you just like, holy crap, it's so good?
It really depends because now there is a part of it that's true that like a lot of rappers these days do kind of like have a similar beat structure, but the main like artist that I could probably think of that comes to my mind in terms of that is the group is the group Migos.
Okay. Yeah. And I agree with that there. And I was reading what Nair wrote. I agree. I am very beat driven as well. I feel like if the beat hits you, you almost sometimes like don't listen to the lyrics until later. Like you listen to it the first time and you're like, whoa, this. And then, but then there are songs that are completely lyrically driven. And I actually feel like, do you agree with this, that the lyrically driven, it seems more of like, and I'm not talking about like when we're talking about that more like Migos and stuff, is back, that's what the older people are used to, that where it's just it's very lyrical, it's almost like poetry with a beat in the background.
So that's the main thing that I think people tend to overlook every once in a while, because it's just like when people talk about like, oh, back in my day there was like real rap and stuff like that, and it's just like, there's no such thing as like real rap. Rap is rap. Like you can like rap about whatever the fuck you want. You know what I'm saying? Even from the songs back in the 90s, I like, so like obviously you have like your conscious rap that like raps about like serious issues and stuff like that, but you also have like your regular rap, your party rap. A lot of that stuff existed back in the 90s just as much as they do now. Like,
There was variety back then too.
Exactly.
Right. And it wasn't just, so like, because to me, I think like This Is America, amazing song. I get chills every time I hear it. And it's so, like, the lyrics are telling a very important, crucial story. And the beat also is amazing. Like, it's a great song.
Exactly.
But to me, that was poetry as much as, like, you know, Tupac was poetry. Like, I feel like that, it feels like a similar thing. But then you have those other songs that, what did you call it, party rap? Who would be like an example of party rap for you?
That's a very good question. Like, I guess, and this is just like the first thing that came to my mind. Someone like maybe 2 Chainz, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. How do you feel? Yeah. So I think that a lot of that's really influencing rap right now. Tyler, the Creator. How do you feel about Tyler, Creator?
Tyler, the Creator. Now see, this is Tyler, the Creator has had an incredibly just like wild transition of how he started out to who he is now. Because like when he started out, he was obviously very young, and like, you know, young artists usually try to, like, you know, recreate like the shock factor type deal that like Eminem once had in like 2002 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So obviously in the early days, Tyler, the Creator stuff, when you listen back to it, obviously hasn't aged well. But that was because, you know, but that was also because, like, he was young. It was a different. It was like a different time, and obviously, I'm not defending that stuff at all.
Right.
But you know, there was a time back in the day where like stuff like that was seen as controversial, yet people would still listen to it with an easy ear, because that was a terminology that people still used back then. Right. But obviously since then he's made that transition to like evolve himself, and that's the main thing that like I really loved about, you know, his transition as an artist, where it's just like, you know, he evolved his sound more. He got rid of like the shock factor lyrics and stuff like that. And because like when you take all that away, he's a really fucking good rapper.
Right.
Like, so.
And I love how you use the word evolve. A lot of artists have to evolve, and they have to change, you know, their style and have to readapt for how the world changes. So you mentioned, okay, we can't talk about rap, and I personally feel like you have to talk about Eminem. How people in the rap industry, I always feel like, fall under 2 categories with Eminem. They either love him and respect him, or they're like, he is overhyped and garbage. So what do you feel?
It's very, very conflicted with how I feel about Eminem, because I 100% like, you know, respect everything he did. He is an incredible lyricist and everything like that. But obviously, as you look back at it, very, very clearly, a lot of his earlier stuff still hasn't really aged well. Despite the fact that, you know, there's still quite a few bangers. Now on the other hand, I'm not the biggest fan of current Eminem, because it's just because this is what really happened. It's like when the album Recovery came out in 2010, it touched on a lot of deeper themes. Like it was a very more mature sounding Eminem. It touched on a lot more deeper topics. It touched on a lot more, like, you know, things that you would like to hear his perspective on. Right. But when the album came out, it got a pretty mixed reception, because like a lot of the fans just like, oh, this is not the Slim Shady I grew up listening to. Yeah. So I feel like the lukewarm reception for Recovery kind of like made him sort of go back to like the old Slim Shady,
right.
and it's just like, yes, he's still an incredibly talented lyricist, but I'm just like, bro, you're almost 50.
I know. Well, that's the other thing, is I have to agree with you, because his more recent album, I want to say, what was it now, 2 years ago?
Music to Be Murdered By, that one?
Yeah, was that 2 years ago already? Jeez, oh my God, the pandemic. Because I remember listening to that, and he was so angry again. Like, it was like, I felt like every song got angrier and angrier. And listen, he's an angry guy. I mean, he has anger in his heart. But I have to agree with you. I thought that the Recovery album felt like he was evolving. There was a different energy. He was talking about different things. And then he came out with the recent album and he was like dissing Machine Gun Kelly, and I was like, Machine Gun Kelly's so beneath you. Like, no, I mean, unless you like Machine Gun Kelly, sorry, but like,
I'm kind of like here and there with Machine Gun Kelly. Like that whole beef was just like like very odd.
Yes, it was very odd, and it was just, to me, like, I feel like Eminem, like, to me, I grew up with the Slim Shady. That was my mom, like, was obsessed with him. Actually, she was like obsessed with him. She thought it was amazing that I was named Haley. I was like, Mom, I don't think that's a good thing. Like, but it's, she used to listen to that album all the time, and she actually used to make me like, she used to really like 50 Cent too. I was listening to Candy Shop when I was like 9. I was like, we're going to the candy shop.
Haley, I was listening to PIMP by 50 Cent when I was in the 4th grade. We had no business knowing those lyrics to those songs.
I know, right? Like, but there's a lot of rap songs that I feel like, okay, there are a lot that I'm thinking about. They were so like inappropriate but like at my 8th grade graduation, we were literally singing "To the Window, to the Wall," like in 8th grade graduation. Like, I remember this as clear as day. It was disgusting.
We were singing that in elementary, and again, we had no business singing that in elementary.
What the hell? But I feel like that is like for me, rap was. It just was like a huge part of our generation. To me, more, I feel like it was so immersed in the radio, and I felt like it's now, I don't know if it's just because of the way that like radio has changed. I don't listen to the radio. I just listen to Spotify, and Spotify only recommends things that it thinks you're gonna like. So I don't really hear a lot of the newer artists anymore. Like, I really don't. Listening to yours, I was like, who is this? Who is that? I was like, wait, what? Like, I knew Childish Gambino, and I knew like The Weeknd and things like that, but I was like, who? Wait, there was another, and obviously, I mean, Bruno Mars and people like that, but there was another, Bad Bunny.
Oh, yes.
I was like, amazing! I was like, this is amazing! Thank you for introducing me to Bad Bunny. And I had no idea, because I feel like it's just not showing up for me. So you opened my eyes in like a huge way to that. So what would you feel like as I also feel like you'll know the artist. There's another artist. He's young, and I think he did the Call Me When You Want, Call Me When You Need. Was that Lil Nas? And he like he's like spinning on a stripper pole in hell? Okay.
Yes.
So that's Lil Nas X. So how do you feel about because he is a very different breath of fresh air. Like the way he carries, I see him on TikTok actually, like a lot. How do you feel about his energy coming into the hip hop space? It's
honestly, like you said, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's really like, I admire his energy. Like, he's such like, now it sounds like a bit of a cop out to be like, oh, LOL, this celebrity is so relatable, but like, I feel like Lil Nas X understands the relatability factor more than anybody else that's tried to like build a persona off of being relatable, because he was literally like bred up in this current generation, so like he understands it just as much as we do. I mean, you see the comment sections on some of his TikToks that are just like, oh, I keep forgetting this dude's a celebrity.
That's how I feel. Like, I watch him and honestly, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until I sang the song. I said, wait, is that also Lil Nas? Like, is that because he feels like a regular person to me? And also, I think he caters to a new Gen Z audience of like being yourself, being inclusive, and kind of saying like F you to anybody who's saying like, oh, you have to be this kind of person to be in this genre of music in any capacity, which I do love. And I do feel like he's opening many doors for hip hop. Do you feel like hip hop has become more like commercialized for masses or less? Do you feel like, how do you feel about how it's being represented?
It depends on where you look, honestly. Yeah. I think hip hop has always had a bit of a commercialization in a sense, but I definitely do think it may have like, I definitely do think it has grown like quite a bit because obviously you're gonna have like, you're cultural appropriators and stuff like that.
Right.
Because it's just like, I don't exactly know how to quite put this, so I'm just gonna like say it and hope it makes sense.
Say it, yeah.
But it's more so just like, you know, I don't like it's more so of like, it's more so like white folks trying to adapt to it, if you get what I mean.
Right. Do you feel like the industry is sort of like pivoting so that people who, you know, are white, it's more accessible and like applicable to them? Or do you feel like it's, you know, white people are like, oh, well, now I have this more on my radar and now I can like get to know it better?
In a sense, but what I essentially mean is just like, I think it goes back to like the cultural appropriation thing,
right.
where it's just like obviously white folks, when they try to create a hip hop sound, they're obviously going to be seen as like they're going to be seen as more marketable than like you know, a black artist.
Right. I actually think that's why I don't like Machine Gun Kelly, by the way.
Yeah,
can I just tell you that's sort of exactly the person I think of when you say what you just said?
Yeah, because everyone feels mega sus about him, like starting out with a rap career and now completely going to fucking pop punk.
And I think he'll go wherever the industry tells him to go.
Which I mean to say, his pop punk album was decent.
It was.
But decent enough for you to like be too big for your britches and like piss off the entire Slipknot fan base.
Disturbed, right? He just pissed off the Disturbed.
Slipknot.
Mm-hmm. But that's the sort of, I feel like he, you know, I feel like you can totally change your sound. Like if you feel like you want to go from rock to more poppy stuff like that. Paramore even did that. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but they did. Like, that's fine. But for me, I feel like he just jumps on whatever bandwagon is going to get him more famous and more like, and listen, that's fine. But he says he's better than whoever is the top dog or whatever in the industry. That's why the beef with Eminem happened. And then he got into the rock and now he's fighting with Slipknot. Slipknot fans will eat you alive, sir. Like, what are you doing?
You have Slipknot fans and Eminem fans on your ass. Like, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I don't remember what I tweeted a couple years ago, but I ended up pissing off a bunch of Eminem stans on Twitter.
Oh, geez.
When I tell you, when they come at you, I feel like they have a script, because they be telling you the exact same thing, where it's just like, oh, I bet you listen to mumble rap, I bet you listen to this and that and this and that. I'm just like, okay, and
oh yeah, exactly. I think that that's the thing, is like people will sort of be exploitative about black culture. Like Femwin brought up Miley Cyrus when she was at her, you know, she was twerking and she was doing more of like an R&B style kind of thing, a poppy R&B blend. And then it kind of like, she's pivoted and now she's doing, I don't even know what she's doing anymore. She's
currently doing a rock sound, which I think she should stay in that genre, because that the most recent album she put out is actually very, very good.
And I think that makes sense for her voice, actually. Like, I really do. I think her voice is that sort of raspy, you know, Janis Joplin-y thing. And that makes sense to me that she would be in a rock. And I think she only did the previous style, maybe because, again, it was popular and she profited off of it. And so I think I always had like this take on it when Miley Cyrus did that, where it was just like, it really felt like, see, like, obviously, you know, it's perfectly okay to change your sound and everything like that. But I feel like it was more like a cry for attention rather than because you know, when you have child stars that turn into singers, like, obviously, obviously they all like naturally progress into like a more adult oriented image. Right. But so you thought that was her Christina Aguilera dirty.
Or just look at Ariana Grande, you know what I mean? And it's mostly just like when Miley Cyrus did it, she just like went from, it was a complete shift. There was like no slow progression. It was just like left to right. Right. And it just like came out of nowhere and it confused the hell out of everybody.
Oh, that makes more sense. And I actually agree with you that a lot of, especially female child stars, when they are singers, they'll have this like Jessica, what's her name? Jessica, not Alba. Well, Jessica Simpson did the same thing. Christina Aguilera did the same thing. Britney Spears, they're idyllic and kind of like charming. And, you know, you had Britney Spears in a little skimpy, you know, like cute schoolgirl costume. And then like 5 minutes later, she's like dirty and gyrating and stuff. So I think that you're right. Maybe that was more what Miley Cyrus was trying to do, but it was just so abrupt.
Yeah. It was just a complete sudden change.
Right. How do you feel about like EDM and you know, more, because I going through, you had like, you know, like more, you had some techno-y stuff, but like how do you feel about like that kind of genre?
EDM, like I don't listen to it much, but like I see mostly when it comes to EDM, I kind of listen to whoever like sends me stuff from it. I don't feel like I actively seek it out, but that doesn't mean I dislike the genre at all. Because there's definitely a few EDM bangers out there. EDM is just a genre that I just like haven't like really seeked too much. It just mostly comes to whoever recommends it to me. I
kind of feel like that's how I feel about like really anything other than like, I mean, I have a limit. Like I listen, you know, to rock and stuff in the rock, and then I do have hip hop. Like I love Megan Thee Stallion. I love I love me women who just like, I want to be that confident in my life. They are just so fucking badass. It's amazing. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to curse. But I feel like you know, I love Cardi B. I love that, like, you know, Nicki Minaj. But I don't really pivot. Like I've listened to Childish Gambino and I've heard things, but listening to the eclecticness of yours, you also had another artist who I've heard my whole life. Okay, so like, where is it? I've liked it, and it was a class. It was more like was it? No, where is it? Oh gosh, it was so good. It was a musician that I feel like I've heard my whole life. It was a little bit jazzy, and like where is it? And I'm boo. I think I liked it, but I have so many like songs in my playlist that like now I'm never gonna be able to find it. But I loved how you did have some Michael Kiwanuka. Am I saying that right?
Michael Kiwanuka.
Kiwanuka, yes. And I've heard that song my whole life, but I've never had like a name for the song. Do you know what I mean? I've heard it in movies and I've heard it on the radio, but I've never heard it. And I was like, oh, this is so beautiful and amazing. And it was such a crazy shift because the song before that was Kendrick Lamar. And I was like, whoa, that is such a strong pivot. But that's really, really, really amazing. And you really do have such an eclectic taste in music. So do you feel like this is something that will be a part of your life, you know, the music and cultivating music in this way?
Oh, absolutely. I just like, music is just like this is such a basic answer, but obviously, you know, music is just like an art form in itself, and it's always nice to like just like, you know, listen to what you like, basically. There's always like the you know, like growing up, you know, you always had the image, you always had the image of like, you know, being stuck to just like one specific, you know, being stuck to one specific stereotype. And, you know, once you embrace, you know, just like liking whatever you like, it's so much more freeing. That's exactly how I felt when I kind of like fell into the K-pop hole a couple years ago. So. Oh,
really? Okay. So I like kind of talking. Okay, first of all, yeah, EDM is a huge category. So K-pop is what, like, I don't think it's an EDM, but like, where is it up? Just pop, straight pop?
I'd say pop, but it does have a specific sound to it. Like you could tell it's more so like a K-pop song. I don't think I've heard any.
I mean, I think you had. Did you have some in the playlist?
I do. I think I might have
not heard that one, which I'm mad about now because I have not heard a single K-pop song that I'm aware of. So I don't know. So how did you fall down that hole?
So I had always been a bit interested in it once Gangnam Style came out, and I'm pretty sure we all remember Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't really have anything. I didn't really have anywhere to look for a couple of years. But what happened was that one of my friends made me a playlist, and then I found a couple of those songs from there. So, I kind of started listening to it, and it kind of went upwards from that, because then I was once put into like another group chat with my friends that are like mega K-pop fans. So I kind of learned more. I learned a lot more about that stuff, like as time went on. So it's just one of those things where it's one of those things where it's just like K-pop slaps as long as you just like ignore some of the psychotic fan base.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, because that's like all I've ever heard about it, is that the fan base is like terrifying. So like they're hardcore.
So like from what I've witnessed, it's mostly just like the psycho part of the fan base is a very, very loud vocal minority, and I think that's why people get terrified of them.
Yeah. But what are they like, okay, so like I am 30. You have to work with me here. What does it mean? Like, who are they going crazy for?
BTS. BTS is like the number one K-pop group that everyone goes crazy over, for sure.
Is that a boy band?
Yes.
Girl? Okay, it's boys. Okay.
When you look at it, it's essentially like we're back in the era of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Oh, that makes so much more sense. Okay. Oh, like Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so you're teaching me so much right now, because I've heard about K-pop. I've never heard about BTS, but I think I've seen pictures of them though. Like 5 boys or something like that, like handsome, young. Okay, and then they like sing and dance.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, and so what you're saying is like when Spice Girls was like on the market and everyone was like losing their shit, there was a very small group that was like obsessive and scary. It's the same sort of thing, only because we have social media now. They're louder. It's exactly
that. It's exactly that.
Okay, because all I've ever heard is that they will like cut a bitch. Like they're very, very, very into it. But I actually really don't like pop though. It's one of the genres that like I just can't like. Okay, before I say I don't like pop, who do you consider pop?
Pop is just like and these are the names that are just coming to my mind first at first thought. But like Britney Spears.
Oh God, we're glitching.
The Weeknd, maybe. The Weeknd is the Weeknd can be more than R&B, like Michael Jackson.
You consider Michael Jackson pop? Interesting. Well, he is the king of pop, but like I don't feel like he's pop now. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you mean by pop in this day and age, right?
So what would Ariana Grande be?
Mostly pop for sure, but she's heavily like R&B influence, and that's when I think like she's at her best. But yeah, like there's quite a few like good pop artists out there. It just depends on like it just depends on like what you like, basically.
I just what it is, like I can't. Okay, so there's a subset of music that I can't stand, and it is people who sound like Adam Levine.
That's a very interesting category.
High-pitched, any kind of high-pitched voice. Like, I don't like Mariah Carey when she goes high either. I don't like, especially like when their voice is very high for some reason. I just can't. Like Maroon 5, when I was growing up, everyone was like in love with Maroon 5, and I just could not get into it. And I think that's why I don't like pop, is a lot of them are forced to do that like higher pitched sort of like the names that pop up in my head. Who?
Like, you mean just like falsetto?
Yeah. What is that about? Like who like I'm trying to think. Like Hilary Duff was another one growing up who was so high pitched, and I'm just like, how do people listen to like? So I've never really liked pop, and I feel like it's one of those things like I never could get into it, even growing up. I mean, I like Spice Girls, but I never liked Britney Spears, and I never liked NSYNC, and I never liked I didn't, So for me as an adult, when I listen to the people who are like who are like the top 5 famous singers right now.
Ariana Grande for one.
Yeah, well, I know her. She doesn't bother me because she's got like a deeper voice, actually. I don't like when she goes high, though. I don't like that whistle thing. I hate
like Beyonce or Adele.
No, I like Beyonce. Okay, I like Adele. They're deep, though. You know? There's something about the no falsetto for me. I just can't. But okay, so how do you feel about Adele? That's a great, because she just had an album release after years.
Well, it's her single that actually dropped, and the album comes out I think in a couple weeks actually. But
how did you like the single?
I think it was great. Yeah. I thought it was great.
She kind of never fails, right? Mm-hmm. She's so good. She this was her. How many years ago was her last one? Like,
I want to say it was like maybe. Oh gosh, wait! It might have been like 5 or 6 years.
I know. Maybe. Well, and you know who still hasn't come out with an album? Rihanna. I think we got a hiccup. Wait, I might be hiccuping, or you might be hiccuping, or everyone's hiccuping.
I hear you. I hear you.
I hear you too, but I think my stream had a. Oh my god! I'm telling you, no, stream does not want me to live. Twitch does not. Twitch is like, no, you don't get to live. Okay, I think we're back. So yeah, we haven't had a Rihanna album in a very long time either.
Oh goodness!
Right?
The amount of people that have been clamoring for a Rihanna album, it's been ages, man.
Do you like Rihanna as an artist?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love her too. I think she's amazing, and I would listen to anything she put out. Also, I just have like a crush on her because she's just gorgeous. I feel like everybody on planet Earth just thinks she's the most gorgeous woman. But yeah, I feel like there are some artists that we all like, no matter if they don't make content or if they do, we all love them no matter what.
Of course,
you know?
Yeah. Do you now? This is just a random question that I have for you. But like, do you have an artist that's like what people would call as a problematic fave?
Yes. Don't call me out like this, Cdiddy.
Listen. My problematic fave is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but you go first.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Here we go. I do have a problematic favorite, and I love this question, Cdiddy. Marilyn Manson. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Let me explain. He is like I know. Okay, I believe, but I have been listening to him for as long as I can remember. I love his voice. I love the beats. I think it's so, and I'm sorry. But yeah, Marilyn Manson is definitely my problematic favorite. Who is yours? I love this question.
Kanye.
Oh boy, it's worse than mine. Is it worse, or are they about equal?
I mean, I don't want the podcast to get like majorly deep, but I'd say that Marilyn might be a bit worse. Might be worse.
I think he's worse. I mean, he's definitely worse. But Kanye is. Well, you know what? I love some of Kanye West songs. His OG stuff, his like Gold Digger phase. I loved but I haven't heard a song. Well, actually, there's a song. What's a recent song he came out with?
I mean, he recently came out with a whole album.
What? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have not heard it yet. What's your favorite song on the album?
It's tough because I alternate between a few of them, but I've been listening to a song titled Junior a lot, and it's exactly what I mean by like one of those like party songs. It's not like really lyric based. It's more so about the beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that he, part of me really does believe in my heart that he does a lot of things for shock value.
Oh, of course.
He sort of is that guy. I mean,
he's been doing that for like 2 decades now.
And some of the things I think, and some of the antics, I do think are a facade. I think he's too smart to believe some of the things he's saying. Do you know what I mean? And he's amassed such a like huge empire. I just feel like he knows what he's doing. you know, like I don't feel like Marilyn Manson's is worse, I guess. But I just, you know, I do appreciate, do you also feel like you can separate and still appreciate the art?
It really depends on what the person has done.
I know. You're judging me, Cdiddy. I can't, you know, it's so hard. I'm sorry. I want to, but it's sort of how I feel about Joss Whedon and Buffy. Like, Joss Whedon he's produced like everything we've ever watched. I mean, Marvel and like, I mean, he's produced so much stuff. And for me, I'm going to separate him because I like Buffy is so important to me. Do you know what I mean? That like I can't.
Of course.
And I feel like Marilyn Manson, unfortunately,
I think that can also apply to just, you know, Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling.
Yes, that's a great point. And there are people who left the fandom of Harry Potter after, but do you feel like for her, because she's also actively still doing bad things. I do feel like Joss Whedon, I don't know if he's still actively doing things, but like a lot of the accusations, which I believe are from years ago, which doesn't make it better or worse. But how do you feel about like J.K. Rowling, who's still being many bad words that I can't say? Do you feel like you can still appreciate Harry Potter?
Say it again?
Do you feel like you can still appreciate Harry Potter though?
So it's kind of difficult because like in a sense there is still that nostalgia factor, you know what I mean? Do I feel like I could like, you know, buy myself like a Hufflepuff robe and all that? Like probably not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you know, I think I'll always have a major appreciation for Harry Potter because like that was my childhood.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's just like it's one of those things where it's just like you can kind of walk away from it, but at the same time, like you can still stay within the, you know, your nostalgia factor of it because like I still absolutely love Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's part of your DNA after a certain point, you know? And I have to agree with you. Like, I feel like some things evolve beyond. Some things are easier also to like, because Harry Potter, I feel like has taken on a world of its own and it's been disconnected in some ways. Like Harry Potter is ours now. Do you know what I mean? And it's not hers anymore. And I know it still is. But you know what I mean?
That's what people have been mostly saying, where it's just like Hermione Granger wrote the books, not her.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. It's true. Can you separate the art from the artist? And that I do think is harder with musicians. And I'll tell you why. Because when I listen to Marilyn Manson, he is the bad guy, and it's not. It's his voice, and it, you know, it's hard. You know, I haven't listened to it in a while, but like the struggle with that is challenging for me, but I do appreciate that. Can you separate? I know you said it depends on the severity, but do you feel like if there was, who's your favorite artist of all time? Like who, like,
oh gosh,
Desert Island, you have one person you can listen to for the rest of your life.
That is so difficult. Cause it's like, oh man, like listing a number one fave of like anything is so difficult because it's just like you have to think of like everything. Top three is even more difficult.
I think the same thing too.
I think you know, considering his extensive catalog, like I guess I would put Kanye in there because a lot of his like older albums are just like so good, and even like his newer albums, I appreciate in some factor.
Yeah.
But top three is very difficult. Like I can say like discography wise, I could absolutely like listen to Kanye like almost all the time.
Wow.
Like maybe you know, obviously there is Kendrick Lamar. It's really tough to think. It's really tough to think about it because like when you're talking about an entire discography, that's when it really gets tough because like obviously you have a bunch of legends and stuff like that,
right.
But they mostly have been popular from just one album alone, and they haven't really reached that peak since that album.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a tough like way to like it's a bit of a tough way to describe it, but
Right.
I think outside of hip hop though, I think like I mentioned Rina Sawayama
Yes.
earlier that did the Enter Sandman cover.
So good.
I think her music is absolutely incredible. Her earlier EPs that she did and her debut album has all been phenomenal, and like there's so much replayability in that.
Right.
No, and obviously you have, and then obviously you have albums that are just like, you have that one specific album where it's just like absolutely no skips. You could listen to it anytime. Sometimes I have to stop myself from like listening to a song from that album because then I'll just listen to the entire album. For example, Three Cheers for Revenge by My Chemical Romance.
Oh, yay. Now you're talking my language over here. Yeah, no, another band that I grew up with, so I totally understand. And also, okay, there's actually two kinds of people. Do you listen to music when you're upset, or do you not because it'll make you more upset? Do you match your music so that it will match your mood? Like, I feel like, or music won't influence your mood.
I feel like most of the time it doesn't really influence my mood. I'll listen to music. I'll listen to certain types of music when I want to get more motivated and stuff like that. But when it comes to just like more emotion based, not really. Like I just usually listen to music as is. Like I don't have like a sad boy playlist or anything like that.
Dude, but if you hear a song, could it make you angry? Could it influence your emotions, or you have to already sort of be in that emotional state to have it influence you?
There used to be one. There used to be a song that like I did have to kind of like steer away from because it brought back like a bit of it brought back a memory of just like a death in the family. So I kind of had to steer away from that song
Right.
for a little bit. But other than stuff like that, I don't really think there's like a song I'll like listen to and it just like makes me angry because it reminded me of like a memory or something like that.
So Aiden always says that depending on what music I'm listening to, I can be influenced by the energy of the music. So I don't know if that's because like, I don't know if I'm happy, but I listen to sad songs, I'll get sad. Like it will influence my emotional state. And then we were even talking way back when we were talking about EDM, which is like a great music to code to do like, because it doesn't have lyrics to interrupt your train of thought. It usually is just a beat and it can keep driving you. Or like when I work out or lift weights, I listen to screamo and metal and things like that because it will hype me up and make me feel like I'm like, I'm invincible. But I do get influence for sure from the different genres of music. And I do feel like you seem to sort of, if your big three, if you will, are all in the hip hop genre. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, and that's mostly me saying it because like it's kind of like anytime I'm asked my top three like favorite artists like ever, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
So I just like really list like the main ones that I listen to like, you know, the most or like a lot.
Right.
Even
but you
even
had
if
rock
even
in
if
here. You definitely had rock in here too.
Yeah.
You definitely, and there was another band that Ice9 Kills. You had that in there. I haven't heard them in a hot minute. That was a throwback. I was like, whoa. But I do. Yeah.
So my friend, a friend of mine actually introduced me to them a couple years back because they introduced me to that one album, the first Silver Scream album that they had, because it it intrigued me because like each song is inspired from a different horror film. And it's one of those things where it's just like so like I used to just like not mess with screamo like at all. Like it used to like I used to avoid it heavily, but like I think but I have a friend who's like into that stuff, and occasionally she'll send me like songs that she's into, and I'm just like, okay, this kind of bangs a little bit. So like I feel like she's up my tolerance for screamo to like just a tad. Like there's still definitely some stuff where I'm just like, no. But I can appreciate it a lot more now.
Well, Ice9 Kills to me is sort of like the appetizer. They wouldn't be if I were to like categorize screamo, I would probably they're to me like to get someone into it. I can totally understand why they would send them to you, and that would be like, oh, I can, because it's not, you can still make out the words, you still know what they're saying, and it's I do feel like people tend to be more fearful of the deep growl, the deep angrier growl than the high-pitched scream. The high-pitched scream seems to be more like palatable for people. Do you know what I mean? But I do love that you had a mix of some rock in there too. So do you, talking about the rock genre for a second, do you have any rock bands that you're like, oh, I actually would listen to this like frequently?
That one's tough because like I never really, when it comes to the rock genre, I never really like listen for anybody specifically, but like but to answer that question, I guess I would say My Chemical Romance. Even though, and this might sound sacrilegious to some people, I got into My Chemical Romance 5 years ago.
Wow, that's actually interesting because My Chemical Romance has been around for like a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
see what happened is like my friends influeing me again because my friends sent me the song Helena, and I was just like, that's the best song. I love this song, and I listened to it so many freaking times. And it got to the point where I was listening to it so many times, I was just like, let me just listen to the album.
Yeah, it's so good. My Chemical Romance is a classic to me. It's a classic. They have so many good songs that are really, really, like, you can listen to over and over, like Helena. Also, do you feel like Nair was saying 80s music will elicit memories because you grew up. Do you feel like you have that nostalgia factor for any artist from when you grew up? Besides Will Smith?
Absolutely. There's like Aaliyah, for example.
I love that you put her on the, oh my God. I haven't listened to Aaliyah in so long. I was like, this. I like them too. So now they're in my liked songs. But yeah, Aaliyah, keep going.
Yeah, and just like there's a lot of stuff from like the early thousands and 90s that I still have a heavy like nostalgia factor for that I'll still listen to on a regular basis. And even when it comes to like 80s music in the decade that I wasn't even alive in, like I still have a huge appreciation for stuff like that. I feel
somebody from the 80s that you like.
I mean, Michael Jackson for one.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Like Michael Jackson, I'm actually very much obsessed with. I'm sure you remember Eddie Murphy's music career, and I am absolutely obsessed with Party All the Time.
Yes. Oh, I haven't followed that in so long. Oh my God. Oh boy.
Partially that my love for that song got re-energized because it was in a Grand Theft Auto game, but still it's Party All the Time is absolutely fantastic. But just like I always have like a huge appreciation for 80s songs as well. Like if I get into a kick on 80s music, I will listen to it for the entire evening. You know what I mean?
It has a very unique quality. Do you also, can I ask a weird question? I feel like, okay, so like bear with me here. There's like 20s music, definitely, right? And then like 30s, 40s, like, okay, like I don't know, maybe, something. And then there's like 50s music, 60s for sure, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then like everything bleeds together after that? Or do you feel the same way?
Kind of, yeah, because I feel like within the early 2010s, there's a lot of iconic music from that era, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely like a lot of stuff kind of like, I would say maybe from like 2008 to like 2013 or 14, there was a lot of stuff in that time period that kind of like blended together just a tad bit, where it's just like, now see, this is the type of stuff that makes me feel very old, because like sometimes I'll see comment sections on TikTok and stuff like that of like people like reminiscing on a certain song. So like, for example, there will be this song that came out in like, let's say 2010 or something like that. I was like a sophomore in high school at the time, or maybe even like, or even like 2012.
Are you 30?
I'm 27.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, I was around that age in 2012. I was like, wait, how many years? I'm like, I think I'm 2 years, 2 scholastic years older than you, I think. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah, and or even like a song from 2012, and that was like the year I graduated. So like,
Right.
so like I would see somebody like reminisce on a song from that year, and I'll look in the comment section and just be like, "LOL, I remember listening to this song when I was in 4th grade," and I'm like,
It's true. It's true. I know what you feel. Actually, somebody on my TikTok today, they were doing one of those challenges where like put a finger down if you've heard this song, and I may or may not have cried. They didn't even hear "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana. Like, how have you that's like everyone's heard that song. I was appalled. I mean, they've never heard of "Jumper" from Third Eye Blind. Like
I feel like now I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there's definitely those people that exist, but I do feel like a lot of those people are like faking for the views.
Oh, you think so? Okay, maybe.
There's definitely a couple because like I've seen several of those, and I'm just like, there is no way in hell you've never heard that song in your life.
It would be impossible, and especially for me, Nirvana is so mainstream now. I think Kurt Cobain would be so sad in some ways that like people are wearing his shirts, they don't even know what it is.
Like there was someone who didn't put their finger down for "Yeah" by Usher. Who hasn't heard that song?
Oh my god, that song plagued me. You know what? Another song that reminds me of high school. Boots with the fur. Wait, what song is that? Apple Bottom Jeans.
Low by Flo Rida.
I'm not kidding. That song was high school for me. Like, I was on a hip hop dance team. I know you're shocked, but I was. I danced for like many, many years. And we did, I think, an entire year just to that one song.
Oh, wow.
Over and over and over. I swear, I think I can almost remember it. Oh my gosh. But it's funny, like songs do elicit that emotional response. And like, I know you're saying that, you know, you don't listen to music if your mood might not be influenced by music, but you definitely seem like nostalgia factor. It will influence that nostalgic factor, which is,
of course,
which is nice too, which is very, very nice. So, okay. Last question. Have you ever rapped, been in the music field, made music? Because you have such a good voice. And you do video editing.
So I actually, I do like sing from time to time, but just like out of my own time. But when I was a senior in high school, I actually was a part of a touring choir group that traveled across like a certain side of the country to a couple states to perform in a few churches and stuff like that. Yeah. But as for just like having like experience myself in like the music industry and stuff like that, like none. I've never like done any of that stuff professionally or anything like that. Like I like to sing on my own time here and there, but yeah, I've never.
Such a good voice. You really do. You really do. If you're not gonna do like, you know, any kind of music, radio, voice acting, you really do have a great voice. And I do think that, you know, you have such like, you could tell like you have such a passion for music in general. Everybody, the podcast, the playlist that Cdiddy created for me, he shared in main chat and Discord. It is so eclectic. It is so good, guys. It really touches upon so many different genres. There's songs that I haven't even. No diggity, Cdiddy. I was like, he did not put no diggity. I was like, oh my god. And I know that there are people who have like only heard that song in movies or whatever, but I remember the first time I heard that song, we were on the highway driving to my grandma's house, and I was in the back seat, and my mom was like, what is this? And we put it on, and I was like, I have like a memory of that song. So I hadn't heard it in so long. I love that you shared such fantastic variety of music. So before we wrap up, Cdiddy, I just want to also shout you out because I'm so heckin' proud of you on so many different levels, okay? First of all, no, you're gonna listen to me, buddy. Okay, first of all, Cdiddy, for anyone who doesn't know, is our TikTok editor. He also makes special YouTube videos for us. And he is the perfect prime example. If you don't ask, you don't know. I hate doing video editing, okay? I struggle so hard with it. I absolutely loathe it. I get behind very easily. And C. Diddy took a chance and messaged me and was like, hey, I don't know if this is okay. I'm really nervous about asking you, but like, I do video editing. Is there any chance you want to like work together? And he has absolutely killed it. Every TikTok video he's made is hilarious. It's so well done. It's so funny. His YouTube videos are fantastic. He has an amazing editing eye, guys. He is phenomenal. Please message him if you need editing work. I'm going to shout you out. Don't you dare start getting fidgety uncomfortable. How dare you? You are amazing. And I want to shout you out because I know that you were a little nervous for today and you killed it. I told you were going to kill it. The time friggin' flew.
There is a question that I wanted to ask you. I
Yes.
just wasn't sure how to pivot to a different subject.
No, ask me away.
But we were talking about like, you know, problematic faves earlier. Is there like a problematic fave that you have in terms of a movie?
Oh, Well, I mean, there are definitely, okay, well, I don't know how to answer that because there are movies that didn't age well. Do you know what I mean? That I still think are funny because I grew up with them, like super bad. There are so many horribly like not appropriate things that wouldn't be allowed to be said now.
There was, sorry, go ahead.
Funny. No, you keep going. You go.
Oh, there was actually recently a tweet I saw earlier that actually made me realize a similar thing, where the tweet said something like put these movies in order: Step Brothers, Pineapple Express, and The Hangover. And like when I was like thinking about that, I was just like,
yeah,
man, The Hangover aged like shit.
It did. It really did. I mean, all three of those movies though, like, I have seen them 1,000 times. Like
Step Brothers for sure is a bona fide cult classic to me.
Hell yes. It's actually Aiden's favorite movie. I'm not kidding. It's like he has no favorites, but if you ask him his favorite movie, it's Step Brothers.
Now like favorite movie for me, it's like it used to be a lot harder for me to answer that, but like as time went on, I'm like almost positive I think my favorite movie is The Iron Giant, and that's why I always keep like recommending it to watch every time we do a movie night, because I know you say you haven't seen it,
no.
And it's just like it's like I used to absolutely love that movie when I was a child, and when as I got older, I appreciate it for so much more things now. Like it's genuinely like one of the most
we have to watch it one night.
One of the most beautiful movies I have like ever seen.
I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's about.
And funny enough, I have the figure right here, which I actually this figure right here actually legitimately came packaged with the VHS.
Oh,
like
cute.
They were selling it like that, and I am absolutely never getting rid of it.
Oh, cute. That's so adorable.
But yeah, like for sure. Like we like absolutely like 100% have to like watch that as a Discord movie night at some point.
I want to. You suggest it every time, and I'm always like, I don't even know what it's about. I'm like, yes, I would love to see that. But what? So do you have a problematic movie that you?
Tropic Thunder.
Oh God, that is definitely. Oh my God, Robert Downey Jr.
So the thing with that is like I feel like Tropic Thunder is like a satirical masterpiece because
it's
like
so funny.
Because when you look at Robert Downey Jr.'s character, it's not like obviously not. I'm going on record to say this like 100% like blackface. Not it.
No,
of course,
don't do it.
But in the sense of how that was done in that movie, because Robert Downey Jr.'s character was basically a satire of like a method actor who would do anything to get an easy Oscar, and it's called out multiple times in the movie. So that is like literally one of the only, and I mean one of the only occasions where doing that in the movie is seen as like. It's not as bad as like other occasions of blackface.
Of course, I understand what you mean.
but as a movie itself, it's such a great satire of just like the movie industry in general.
Right.
It has decent action.
It really is hilarious.
Tom Cruise's character,
oh god,
made me holler in laughter the first time I saw it, and it's just it's an insane movie.
How do you feel about the Monty Python movies?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail is generally like one of my favorite movies.
It's amazing. They're classics.
Mm-hmm. Like that movie is like 30-40 years old and it's still hysterical. You kind of like some things age. Like I also feel like Airplane. Totally problematic things in that too. But there are moments where it's still really funny. Like there are these hilarious, Don't Call Me Shirley. Like there's these moments that are just classics. And like, I do appreciate the like problematic question. Like what is a problematic fabric that you're aware is, I think the important thing is we're aware it's problematic. Like we're like, it's a problem. We know. Now, one question that I did have, because I was actually like looking forward to like talking about this section. What are some of the worst movies you have seen?
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. Interstellar. I hated that movie with I went on like an hour rant on stream after we watched that movie because I felt so lied to. People on my TikTok were like, this is the movie will change your life. I watched that movie and I was like, these people have never had original thoughts. They think this movie's transcendent because the music with it is beautiful. The music that goes along with Interstellar is truly some of the best cinematography based music like I've ever heard. The piano, it's great. But like, he's in a bookcase. Like, don't tell me that there were so many plot holes. I got so exasperated. I hated Interstellar. And that's a movie that like people think was like iconic. And I hated it. What's another movie? There's a lot of movies that I hate actually. So I also hated, I hate rom-coms in general usually.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a rom-com kind of gal. There was a movie that Converse actually suggested for movie night. I blotted it from my memory. Oh, Tusk, another Converse recommendation, traumatized me. Like,
okay, hold on. Tusk, like, I didn't like Tusk, but not for the reasons that you didn't like Tusk. I thought like that movie has such an insane concept, and I'm all for movies with like crazy concepts.
So why didn't you like it?
I was just so bored by it. Like,
you could not.
Like yes, the effects of like that transformation were great. They were great. Obviously, they were very gross, but they were great. But I just wasn't engaged by like half the movie.
How dare you? How dare you say it was boring? Honestly, I'm not kidding. To this day, I think it might be the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. I hated it so much. Like, okay, okay, so in the horror genre, there's all these different kind of like shock porn, gore porn, things like that. That was like a shock kind of thing. Like it was shocking and horrible, but it wasn't like gory per se, right? It kind of was, but like, I don't know. But like, for instance, The Hills Have Eyes. Would rather watch The Hills Have Eyes, which is arguably horrible and just for shock factor, and it's so super graphic. I would rather watch that on a marathon than watch Tusk again.
Oh gosh!
What's your least favorite movie?
So like, I wouldn't say it's like number one least favorite movies because like it's hard to like rank like which movie I hate the most of all time. But obviously there's movies like The Last Airbender movie.
You hated it?
The Last Airbender film? Oh yeah, it was bad.
Oh, okay. Okay. I've never seen it, so I don't know. So,
but there's also stuff like, now, depending on how many people here remember, like which one is it? The Fantastic Four reboot that came out in 2015.
I haven't seen it though.
I thought that one was like, here's how bad it was. Like here's how bad it was, right? My mom loves superhero movies. We go to the theaters, we watch superhero movies all the time.
Oh, I love that.
she usually likes almost anything. So if she doesn't like it, you know it's bad.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that either. I'm not. I think you know this. I don't watch a lot of I don't watch a lot of superhero movies. Like I've only seen the Iron Man's, Hulk, and then I haven't seen anything else. I haven't seen any of the Marvels. I haven't seen like the Avengers stuff. There's too many of them. And then like I don't even know where does the Fantastic Four even fall under? Like what category? Is that a DC or
it's Marvel, but it's not the same universe as Iron Man and stuff like that. It's so the thing with comic book movies is just like it's different studios. Like obviously you have like the MCU, but like that Fantastic Four movie that I was referencing isn't part of that. It was mostly from it was distributed by Fox. So like there's so many different like superhero movies, but there's so many different like separate universes that aren't connected with like MCU stuff. But
what's MCU stand for?
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, well, you taught me something else, Cdiddy. I hear it all the time. I just assume it's like Marvel, but I don't know what the CU part stood for. Okay, so that's Cinematic Universe. See, it's a lot to keep up. I do like Batman, as Aiden pointed out. I do like I think if I'm going to choose, I'm going to go DC. I love the Dark Knight series. I think that they are amazing. And I also like the OG Batmans, and I like the Batmans with like Michelle Pfeiffer, and I like all the Batmans, evidently. I don't know if it's because he's dark or I don't know.
Are you looking forward to the new one with Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
That one looks incredible.
He's going to kill it. He's going to absolutely kill it. Because he's also like super dark, you know?
Like I've never thought that 2010 me would be excited for Robert Pattinson as Batman, but I really am.
I agree. I mean, I only watched Twilight because of Batman. Because of Robert Pattinson. Because he really was the whole thing. Because we're going to call Robert Pattinson from now on just Batman forever. What films do you think were better as a reboot than the original? It's a good question.
Oh, that's a very good question.
Very good question.
Do you remember Fright Night?
Yeah.
I love the remake of Fright Night.
Me too.
Like I feel like I've watched the remake of Fright Night way more than the OG, and the OG is still great. But I just feel like I've seen Fright Night so many times. I enjoy it so much. In terms of Dawn of the Dead, we're talking about like the Zack Snyder one, the one that came out like 2003 or so, like something like that?
Yeah. The OG one was I'm blanking on his name. Oh my god.
George Romero.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you like the remake better?
I haven't seen the remake in so long. I've been meaning to for a while.
How dare you?
It's genuinely been years since I've last seen it. But like, I remember liking it a lot. But actually, in terms of reboots, like, I don't know if I'd say like I would put this over the original. But the remake of Evil Dead that came out in 2013 was so dope. Like I don't know if you've seen it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the remake of Evil Dead was really, really cool. Outside of one potentially triggering scene, but that's pretty much it, because it's just like it can possibly be seen as like gore porn, but like at the same time it does it well to the point where it doesn't feel like it's just like doing it for the sake of doing it.
Right. And I have to agree with you. If we're talking horror genre, I hate when they do things because like they can, or they like want you to have a visceral reaction. And that's why I hate movies like Saw. The first Saw was great, and anything after that was terrible, because they just started to one-up themselves. They kept trying to make it more horrifying. And like, I understand that some people's like MO, like they like that, but to me, like I don't like that at all. Yeah, Red Dawn, the remake was not good. Footloose, the remake was not good either. A lot of reboots are bad.
now in terms of like reboots, because this actually goes back to like one of my least favorite movies, but if you or anybody else here remembers that god awful remake of The Mummy with Tom Cruise that came out in 2017.
I refuse to watch that movie. I won't watch it.
For the longest time, I absolutely despised that film, like, because it was just like because the first half of it was just like a lazily done remake of the original Mummy, and then the second half of it was like introducing, because like, so the story with all that was because like Universal had intended to do like make this thing called the Dark Universe, where they were essentially like rebooting like all of like the old Universal monster movies and like putting them into one cinematic universe, kind of like Marvel does. Mm-hmm. The thing is that I feel like they blew their load too early by just like straight up announcing it, rather than just like letting it build organically. So like the second half of that Mummy movie was just like so much setup of like this Dark Universe crap, because now they're bringing in Russell Crowe as like Dr. Jekyll, and it's just, and it's just like it was so bad. And
I think that's what happens when companies try to milk things.
Yeah, and it's just like anytime someone is reminded of that movie, they just take a B because of how much I hate it. But
everyone says they refuse to watch it in chat.
Don't. I do not recommend it. Don't even watch it. I always like to watch, like, not always, but like sometimes a friend and I watch like bad movies on purpose just for a good laugh. Do not watch the 2017 Mummy for a good laugh, because you will not get a good laugh. You will be miserable.
the Mummy to me, the Mummy movies, like the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, they're so good. They're so good. Like, they're so beautiful. I think that even trying to not have Brendan Fraser and to make it like this whole other thing was just, to me, I think it was probably they were just trying to grab onto something that was already very popular. I absolutely refuse to watch that. I only found out that there was a Tom Cruise version or whatever like years later. And I was like, what is this? I read it and I was like, no.
And like that movie flopped so bad that the Dark Universe got pretty much canceled.
They were like, forget it, sorry.
But actually there was very, very recently, I'm talking about like last month. So honestly, I've been kind of excited to talk about this because, like, I need everyone to understand my disdain. Okay, anyways, so last month I decided to watch like every single movie in the Halloween franchise. Okay. Now, when it comes to Rob Zombie's remakes, I had only seen the first one. Now, like Rob Zombie's first Halloween remake, I didn't like it, but I also don't like overly despise it. Like, obviously there's a lot of things, like, I understand the ambition that he was going for. I just, like, when you have a character like Michael Myers, he does not need a backstory. It's unneeded. It's just like a bit of like a try hard thing to do. Plus with a very unnecessary essay scene.
Yeah.
But I had never seen the sequel to his remake. When I tell you, that was generally one of the worst experiences I've ever had watching a film. Really?
So I've only ever seen the OG Halloween. I've never seen all the other ones. Because I just was like, no. Why was it bad?
How do I put this? So when I was like looking up a couple of trivia about it, I found out that like Rob Zombie initially didn't intend on making a sequel to this, but the studio wanted him to so bad because like the first one, regardless of its reception, was still very successful. And the only way that he came back was that they promised him full creative control, and you could tell he had full creative control.
Oh man, what happened?
I could honestly get into this for hours, but one of the main things that I despised the most was that Michael was unmasked for like most of the movie, so he just looked like a large hobo. So it just made no sense, and he puts his mask on whenever he like gets ready to kill and stuff like that. Yeah. And there was just like so many like weird like there were so many like weird like flashback / metaphor type deals. They brought in like this white horse with Michael's mom as like Michael having like, you know, allusions to his mother, even though I'm pretty sure that was just Rob Zombie's excuse for casting his wife in another movie like he does for every single one. But it was just so, and the editing, oh my god, like the editing was atrocious. It just felt like so much shaky cam where you could barely see anything. It was just like everything about it, from like the characters to like the editing to like even just like the narrative choices. Like they made Loomis a jackass for no reason. But
what? Well, I do feel like sometimes when you have too much creative control, you go off the rails and you kind of just like
I completely understand when it comes to remakes, like, you know, making your own vision of it. And like I honestly like encourage that more than people just trying to just like when they do remakes, just making a beat for beat, shot for shot remake of the original. I agree.
I actually completely agree with that. I hate when they do that.
Yeah, because when you have remakes, you obviously want it to stand out in some form.
Right.
But when it comes to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, it was just like, it just felt like it was god awful.
Is that kind of how you feel? How do you feel about the new Ghostbusters?
The new one that's about to come out.
Oh, no. I was talking about the one with the all-female cast.
I didn't hate it, honestly. Like, yeah. I thought like a lot of like the negative reaction was incredibly overblown. Like, right. In like a lot of people like to say that it wasn't them being misogynistic, but it definitely was, if you know what I mean. Right. But like the new Ghostbusters, like, I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. Like, I don't think I would like watch it on a regular basis, but like when I saw it, I had fun with it. I was in love with Kate McKinnon's character.
Right. Well, you know what I feel like? I sometimes feel like not everything needs to be redone. I do feel like Halloween. I do feel like Hollywood sometimes like runs out of ideas, so they recycle. Wall posted, have you watched the new Home Alone trailer reboot? So that's something I think doesn't need to be redone. Like Macaulay, I 100% will not watch it.
So I 100% agree that like that was like making another Home Alone is completely unnecessary. Now I will give it like a tiny benefit of the doubt, because like when I watched the trailer, I was just like, okay, this looks more watchable than every Home Alone that came out after the third one.
Right.
So I feel like I'll watch it at least once just to see how it is. I know that Macaulay Culkin has a cameo in it. I know and I know that the guy who plays Buzz is also in it. The guy who plays Buzz is also back in it, and he plays a cop, which honestly I think is the most natural character progression I've ever seen.
Actually, very, very natural character progression. I think that's amazing. You know what I think though is that to me, when they tried to make Home Alones after Macaulay Culkin aged out of the category, it sullied it to me. It just felt like they were just trying to capitalize. I don't think I could do it.
And like when it comes to Home Alone 3, like I don't think it was terrible, but I think it's just a nostalgia factor, because like that was also one of the movies I watched as a kid, like that whole trilogy I watched growing up. So I do think there's like a small bit of a nostalgia factor for Home Alone 3, but when it comes to just like Home Alone 4, which first debuted as a TV movie, so you know it was already trash right there. Yeah. And knowing that they had completely different actors, but they were trying to like use the same characters. Right. It just didn't work. Like, how am I supposed to? I'm looking at French Stewart. This is not Joe Pesci, and I'm supposed to believe he's Marv. I know. Or I mean Harry. Sorry, but
can we also just talk about how in the '90s Joe Pesci was supposed to be like scary, and he's like this tiny, adorable. He looks just like the sweetest. Like, I love My Cousin Vinny. I just absolutely love that movie. And listen, he's got the talk, but he is just like not an like, I can't believe that he got away with being the like scary, intimidating, like
that's just
I'm like,
that's just a testament to how good like Casino and good
Yes.
and like all those mobster movies were.
Right.
Like because he's such an amazing actor. Every time I think about Joe Pesci, I still think about just like he has genuinely probably the greatest Oscar acceptance speech I have like ever seen.
I haven't seen it. What does he say?
Literally, he goes up to accept his award. He's just like, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. He leaves.
That's so him though. I just love, I think that like he, you know, there are certain characters like in Home Alone, he was just magical in it. He, you know, they elevate it like to me, Hocus Pocus, as you know, I love Hocus Pocus. Bette Midler being in Hocus Pocus blows my mind. Like the fact that Joe Pesci is in a child's movie, Hocus Pocus, Bette Midler's in wait, what'd I say? Joe Pesci is in Home Alone. Can you imagine he's in Hocus Pocus? No, I think it elevates it to a new level. And then just circling back really quickly to Ghostbusters, the remake with the women, I have to agree with Noobtastic. I feel like if Hollywood's going to make a remake, why couldn't they have made it so that these were the daughters of the original Ghostbusters?
That was the one issue I had with it, where it's just like I didn't agree with just like rebooting it completely, where it was just like why
can't you incorporate it?
Yeah, and that's what this newer movie looks like it's doing, which really intrigues me.
Right.
But it just felt like kind of a cop out to just like kind of like reboot the entire thing and be like, oh, LOL, here's like the original actors, but it's completely different characters.
Right. I think remaking things, to me, like unless you're gonna improve upon it in some way, it just sort of feels like, you know. Like, for instance, I'm going to be having a podcast with Converse in January when the new Scream comes out. We're going to do a whole podcast about Scream. I love the Scream franchise. It's my favorite of all of the horror franchises, like, period. I think even the crappy one is great.
Which one do you describe as a crappy one?
I want to know what you describe as a crappy one. Okay, ready? On 3. 1, say the number that you think is the crappy one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 3.
3. Okay, good.
Okay. I got nervous. I was like, are you not going to say 3? It's true. 3 is the crappy one. Everyone knows correct answer is 3. Scream 4 was great, actually. I think Scream 4 was my second favorite after the first one.
I think a lot of people sleep on Scream 2. Scream 2 is also fantastic.
It is very good. And Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it. So, you know, you want to hear a little factoid about that movie? That I love because obviously Buffy. So when they were filming her scene in Scream 2, you know, she's getting chased by Ghostface and she's running. And of course, she's like, does the dumbest thing. She doesn't run out the door, even though she's standing right in front of the front door. Like she runs up the stairs. Okay, fine. But what I love about it is that evidently the director had to tell her to stop running so fast, stop fighting back, because she had so much Buffy training at the time that her instincts to be Buffy kept kicking in. So I watched this interview of her talking about this. I'm like, I love you. You are Buffy. I know you're really Buffy.
That is amazing. Oh my God.
So I love watching that scene because actually knowing that she had to struggle to be the damsel makes me really, really proud. Like somehow
that's
she
incredible.
knows I know her. Like I know her. See, I know her. Okay. But yeah, see, Scream 3 is the worst, but I think Scream 5 is going to be that I think it's going to be
Scream 5 is going to be good. Scream 5
it's going to be good.
I'm really looking forward to it. Now you said that you've only seen the first Halloween and that's it.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Because like there are like 3 or 4 different Halloween timelines. I can understand how that entire franchise would be would be seen as confusing.
It's not my thing when they do things like the MCU, as you coolly called it. I don't know if you made that up or not, but I think
it's
that
an actual thing.
Oh, it is? Okay. I think that to me, I feel like things get overly complicated and there's like 47 timelines. I mean, I would sit down and watch all the Halloweens. I would. I mean, there's a lot less than Marvel movies, obviously. But I like when things feel like concise. You know, I feel like the Scream franchise is a perfect example of that. It's chronological. It makes perfect sense. And they know it's sort of silly and they've never jumped the shark. You know what I mean? Like I love that they don't do something that's, you know, like friggin' Converse redeemed Friday the 13th in space.
Jason X.
I'm telling you, man. Like, it's the audacity of, like, what the hell?
Jason
so things
X
like that are not okay with me.
Jason X is genuinely like one of my favorite bad movies.
Oh, come on. It's so bad. I couldn't make it. I was in pain.
It's so bad that I just like I have a good laugh at it every single time. Like that whole Mecha Jason outfit is just like, it's so stupid, but it's so great.
It like physically hurts me how like that is a show that's a movie you've watched multiple times, but like at the same time,
not multiple times. Like I will always watch it if I find it on AMC. Like I won't actively like try to buy it.
Did I see the Scream TV show? Yes, and I actually did like it. Did you watch the Scream TV show?
I actually haven't, and I've been meaning to like actually check that out for quite a while because I heard it was actually decent.
It's actually pretty good. It's surprising because you kind of think it's going to be terrible because it's a bunch of teenagers and it's taking place in like common day where we have cell phones and we have alarm systems and so you sort of think, but like it actually, I've watched it many times. I still sometimes get like uncomfortable because I feel so much older than them now. I'm like watching it and I'm 30 and they're 18. I'm like, bleh. Like, but at the same time, I do actually really like, I'm actually reading a book right now where the main couple is 18 and I'm like, oh God, I actually picture in my head that they're in college. I just picture in my head that they're in college because it just creeps me out. Like, why does everyone have to be 18? My God. But it's
I think mostly when it comes to movies like that, it's just like, not only why is everyone like 18, but why is everyone so goddamn horny?
Right? I mean, I get it if you're a teenager. Like, I do get it. But at the same time, like, you're kind of exactly right. I'm reading this book and it's literally called 18 plus. It's not the book name. It's called Punk 57. And like, I don't know if I recommend it yet. I'm almost done with it. I read it I think like 80% of the book yesterday. But the thing is it's very good, but I just don't understand this necessity to make like 18-year-olds have like sex in very dangerous places. I don't know. That's the only thing. Scream is, it's teenagers. So that's like, you have to kind of weigh how you like. Did you watch the Exorcist TV show? Or I didn't even know there was an Exorcist TV show. I've seen the movie.
I've seen like the first 2 episodes of the Exorcist TV show and I forgot to go back to it. And
the thing is I don't like possession movies.
True. Now, I actually meant to ask you, so what is it about possession that like, possession in movies that just like really just like it's under your skin?
I think it's my mom's fault. She let me watch The Exorcist when I was really young and I didn't really understand, and we watched the director's uncut version.
Oh boy.
There's so much, if you haven't seen it, there's so much in there that they didn't even put. Oh God, my mom, she just, I don't know. She let me watch a lot of things when I was very young. And like, I love my mom. She's my best friend. But like, mom, like I watched so many things that were so inappropriate. And I think it sort of made like, I watched Exorcism of Emily Rose. That one is to me the biggest like, fuck no, never again, cannot tolerate it. That was my last straw because I've seen The Exorcist now so many times that it doesn't really scare me anymore. But The Exorcism, no way. I don't like the way that their bodies move unnaturally. It's something about the because I've seen other TV shows. There's a TV show named Salem and there is possession in it and I can tolerate. American Horror Story, there's possession I can tolerate. It's something to do with a very specific subset of like the Exorcism of Emily Rose is the perfect example. Like the body movements being weird, man. Like what are they doing? I
know you mentioned like how much you hate The Conjuring. And so like when I kind of think it's like when I think back to that movie, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand what you're getting at.
No, Converse is the problem here. He friggin' made me watch that movie too, and I really, and you know what the thing is, my mom watches The Conjuring to fall asleep.
That's quite a comfort movie.
She's next level. You guys have no idea. She and Converse talk through me about horror movies, and she'll ask me, "Oh, has Converse seen Demon House?" Which is all about possessions and demons and stuff. And then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't think it was that bad." And then he'll be like, "Have you seen this?" And they talk through me about heinous movies, and I will not watch them. And yeah, The Conjuring, Converse made me watch The Conjuring, and my mom was watching it with me. We were in Plymouth. We were watching it with me, and she kept forgetting to warn me. I said, can you please warn me something bad's gonna happen? And then she didn't realize that so many things I needed to be warned. Like, it scared the crap out of me. There's this one scene where like the demon lady floats above the mom in bed. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. My mom just forgot to warn me. I almost like crap myself, okay? I just don't like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But is there any part of the horror genre that you don't like?
It mostly just depends. Like sometimes there's content within a horror movie or any movie in general where it sounds like it's way too much for no good reason, and I just won't bother watching it. For example, if you've ever heard of a movie called Cannibal Holocaust,
yes, I turn it off.
Yeah, that's like I've read about what happens in a movie, and I'm just like, I'm good never watching that like ever.
No, that's there. I actually watched. I wish I would have found. I actually saw this like diagram on Reddit that like explains the different subsets of horror movies. Mm-hmm. Cannibal Holocaust is in a very specific.
Yeah.
I turned it off. It was terrible. Yeah.
So
it's like worse than Hostel. Worse than. It's bad.
So has there ever so outside of like Possession and stuff, has there ever been a movie where it's like, because obviously, you know, it depends on where you are with gore and stuff like that. But has there ever been, outside of Cannibal Holocaust, has there ever been like a movie with like a gory type scene that is just like, I wouldn't say like necessarily, well, I guess I would say scarred you.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But like, see, because it's funny because like I used to always get that question, like, has there ever been a movie that scarred me when I was younger? Mm-hmm. And I never really have an answer for it because when I was younger, I was pretty heavily sheltered from like horror movies and stuff like that.
Oh, really? Okay, mm-hmm. So we had opposite childhoods. I would say it didn't. Okay, well, I think The Exorcist made an impression for sure. But like, it's weird because I watched The Shining and Scream when I was very young. I watched Scream when I was 5. Mm-hmm. My dad thought it was a cartoon, so when I asked him for permission to watch Scream, he said sure. And I watched Scream with a bunch of he thought Scream was a cartoon because that's my dad. So I watched that and I was like, oh, this is something. Okay. But I would say I actually saw this. I wasn't really young at the time, so I guess I don't know if you could say it scarred me, but I watched The Hills Have Eyes on a date.
Oh no.
And it made me like deeply unsettled that he suggested that movie to watch on the first date. And I don't do well with SA stuff, as you know, if you know the abbreviation for that. I don't do well with that. I don't think anyone really should, but I don't really care about gore. I really don't. I think that there's like 2 specific things that I don't like. I don't like possession, and I don't like really unnecessary, especially if it doesn't drive the story in any way. I mean, if it doesn't change anything, like for instance, the girl with the dragon tattoo, there's very, very, very violent SA in the girl with the dragon tattoo. But it is a part of the story for a reason. It's not unmotivated. It's not unnecessary. It's a driving force for this character. Whereas in The Hills Have Eyes, no reason. It's just to get that visceral reaction. And it was so violent. It was just, it was not a good date. It was not a good date. But no, I think that I have no issue with gore, really. I think that that's the one thing. Do you have any movies that stick out for you?
So like, obviously when it comes to the gore, like I'm not really bothered by it. Like, obviously I'll react to it.
Right.
But outside of like one specific occasion, and this really isn't a horror movie, it was more of a psychological thriller more than anything. Right. But I don't know if you've ever heard of a movie called Gerald's Game. It's actually based off
heard of it.
It's based off a Stephen King novel, I believe.
Oh my god, yes. Wait. It's on Netflix.
Yes.
Okay, so I started it and then I got distracted. I turned it off and I never finished it. Is it good? Is it bad?
It was very interesting, but like the scene in question I'm referring to is basically, so obviously you know the premise of the film, right?
Yeah, yes.
So basically the scene I'm referring to is how she gets out of the handcuffs.
I didn't get to that point. I don't think I got to that point.
It was also the first time I ever heard of the word decloving.
Oh, I know about. I saw that in real life.
So
when I was an EMT, so I
when I
Yeah.
so when I was watching that movie and when that scene happened, it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and it took everything in
boy.
me to not just scream.
Yeah.
Because that was like gore, gore usually doesn't like really get me like that. That movie, like that scene in particular, I just oh god.
I kind of want to go watch it. That probably wouldn't bother me, to be honest, because I actually saw a degloving in real life. Trigger warning, but don't Google it. But
please don't Google it.
I think my mom told me, she warned me. Is there something with a cow in that movie?
I don't know, because I've only seen it once. Like I don't really remember.
I think that there's something. I don't do well with animal stuff. Oh my God. I would rather watch any person get messed up than a single animal. Like there's a movie that everyone thinks I've seen. It's called The Witch, but it looks like two V's. Nope. You know what I'm talking about. First, I'm watching this movie and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then we get to the dog and I'm like, goodbye, done with you. I never finished it and I won't finish it. No,
hey, that
I refuse.
Is so crazy though.
No. It's just unnecessary. I'm like, no, then don't. Why do you have to do it to a dog? I can't tolerate animal stuff. I just have zero.
I understand what you mean by that, though. I do understand.
What the heck is that movie?
I
Am Legend.
Okay, wait.
I wasn't warned.
Fun fact about I Am Legend, because I swear to God, this was 100% real. So like, I was around like for like the IMDb message boards when they were a thing and stuff like that. When the first trailer to I Am Legend came out, I remember looking through the IMDb boards and 95% of every single topic was about, I hope the dog doesn't die.
No, and I was not warned, okay? And like, talk about, I mean, I've seen the movie since many times. I just fast forward it now. I just fast forward it. I don't need to see it again. It's just not, it's not for me. But like, I guess there's certain like, I guess tropes that I don't like animals. I don't like without context, like for no reason. It doesn't drive. I also don't like nudity in film for no reason either. Unless it's for a purpose and it's not just because you have a rated R rating so you can do it. Unless it's for a purpose, then I don't like it either. I like when movies do things purposely, you know what I mean? And I do agree, I don't think The Ring or The Grudge was scary. Tremors was good. How do you feel about The Ring and Grudge?
It depends on which version of The Grudge you're talking about. Like, the OG one was good, but the remake, not so much.
Right. I never found any of them scary, actually, The Ring or The Grudge. And I didn't think Tremors was scary either. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the little kid thing creeps me out that much. You know what I mean? Maybe because I don't have kids. I don't know.
Now, would you say that like your favorite horror movie like ever is Scream, right?
No. You can't laugh at me though. You cannot laugh at me. Promise.
Okay.
No, I don't want to tell you. Because the truth is it's embarrassing because it's like bad. It's a bad movie.
Okay. I will not laugh because like I've recently had some.
Converse already knows. Converse knows.
Okay, listen. I kid you not. I recently had someone I was talking to a couple weeks ago, literally the same verbiage where it's just like, I have a favorite horror movie, but you're gonna laugh at me, and I'm just like, okay, don't. And she said it was House of Wax, and I'm just like,
mine is House of Wax.
Listen. I actually.
Oh my God!
Listen. I actually rewatched House of Wax for the first time in like a decade a couple weeks ago. That movie slaps. Like,
I love it. I love it. I like the remakes of House of Wax. I don't care. The trick to watching the remakes of House of Wax, I'm gonna give you guys a bomb of knowledge right now. The main characters, you know how they're twins, like fraternal twins, brother and sister? Watch it as if they are ex-boyfriend and girlfriend. It will change. They had so much. Listen, I don't know if they were together off screen. They had so much sexual chemistry throughout that whole movie. It's so uncomfortable to think that they were brother and sister. But I'm telling you, if you watch it through the eyes of their ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, you're going to love the movie. It's cringy and terrible and hilarious, and it's so good. And I have rewatched that. Ooh, you don't even want to know. See, Diddy, I've rewatched that movie like hundreds of times.
It's also one of the most 2005 movies I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good. The music, Oh my God.
Helena
at the end credits, you got Marilyn Manson. You have Minerva from Deftones at the beginning. Oh, the soundtrack alone is like a capsule of my life. I love it. I don't care. My second favorite would be Scream, probably, and then I don't really know. I mean, then the third really is open till I have a lot. I have so many in the third position. Those would be my top two. I think you could go serious. You could go like The Shining or like a psychological thriller, or I could stick with like, you know, more of a zombie thing, like, you know, one of my zombie movies I like. But yeah, House of Wax, my favorite.
Actually, quickly going back to Scream, it's funny because like anytime I think of Scream, I have a favorite line from that entire movie, and it's probably one of the most like not necessarily like lines that people don't think about, but it's just the delivery of that. It's just the delivery of that line. It makes me crack up every single time. But it's the one where Matthew Lillard's character is just like, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
It's so classic. But also, did you know that Stu in that film at the end ad-libs, like, you know, when Billy throws the phone at him and it hits him and he goes, "You hit me in the phone, you dick," totally ad-libbed. When he picks up the phone, a lot of that end scene is ad-libbed. I actually love reading about Scream facts because the whole house sequence from the house party in the beginning to the end of the film, basically, when the house party's over, essentially, they filmed that, I think it was 24 days consecutively from sun up to sundown. And the crew and cast were so exhausted that you'd find them just sitting in clumps, like kind of like nodding off. And then Wes Craven would be like, "Get up. All right, let's go." And they would all just turn it back on. And I think that's really impressive. I mean,
for sure.
I love that movie. Oh, C. Diddy, we're at almost 2 hours. Okay. All right. It seems like C. Diddy and I are going to have a part 2, guys. This is a long podcast. Holy shit. Last question. Yes.
Okay. Because I meant to say this because like I feel like my favorite horror movies like change like all the time. Yeah. But in terms of like I think my absolute top 2, well, maybe top 3. Well, okay. In regards to my top 5, I think the 3 that will never change in there is obviously Scream, and then the OG Halloween, but also Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's the 6th Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I believe. It's the one that's like super meta. It's the one. Really? Okay. It's the one. It's like it's a movie within a movie. Okay. I think that one is incredibly underrated. A lot of people sleep on it so much, no pun intended. But like it's so good. Like I highly recommend that movie to like anyone that is a fan of Freddy Krueger, because it's just done in such a cool and subversive way. Right. But yeah, I do highly recommend that. It's genuinely.
I have to watch it. I've seen a bunch of the Freddy Kruegers, but I haven't seen all of them. Again, because like when there's a lot of a certain thing, I just go like, oh, that's so many things to catch up with, you know. So, but I do. Yeah. Okay, so last 2 questions. What's your favorite claymation movie, and who's your favorite horror director?
Claymation. It's probably a basic answer, but it's just like I obviously can't go wrong with Nightmare Before Christmas, but at the same time, I'm a really huge fan of Paranorman.
Oh my God! I'm so glad you were. I was gonna say Paranorman. Oh my God! Nobody's ever seen Paranorman. It's my favorite. It's like one of my favorite cartoon movies, but it's also my favorite claymation. Period.
It's fantastic.
My God! I'm so excited you said Paranorman. You have no idea. I had a full clench right there. Okay, favorite horror director.
Favorite horror director that's honestly really tough because like I guess, and this is also gonna be a bit of a it might be a bit of a basic answer, but like obviously, you know, I like Wes Craven and I like John Carpenter. But I think Jordan Peele's also getting up there for me. Yeah,
he's great. Yeah. He's also bringing a new style to the genre.
Because Get Out was amazing. I really liked Us. I'm looking forward to that other movie that he's coming out with, I believe, next year. But Jordan Peele is really getting up there for me already.
He is fantastic. And I love that they're introducing, and I love that psychological thrillers are now people realize are horror films. They're not their own category. I remember when Silence of the Lambs came out, and they were like, oh, well, this is Oscar worthy, but we can't have a horror genre for silence because horror is so bad. But when Silence of the Lambs came out, when The Shining came out, they were like, oh, wait, psychological thriller, we're going to make a new category for it. No, it's still under an umbrella of horror. It's just its own category. And I think that like Silence of the Lambs and The Shining and are perfect examples, and Get Out of psychological thrillers being exemplary examples of a different subset of horror. So I completely agree. Heck yes. Okay, it's been 2 hours. See, Diddy, I think we need a part 2 because we can clearly talk for a long time. Thank you so much, C. Diddy, for joining us. I'm so glad. I hope you were comfortable and had a good time. Everything was okay. Good. Okay. I appreciate you so much. I loved it too. I appreciate you so much, guys. This is Coven Conversations. This was C. Diddy. We talked about music. We talked about movies. This will go on YouTube. I am Poop Witch X. Thank you so much, C. Diddy. You are an amazing guest. We will definitely have to do a part 2 if you're up for it.
Thank you so much again. I love this.
I can love you. Thank you so much, C. Diddy. Bye.